Welcome to another episode of the Transforming Lives podcast panel. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Pankhurst.
And I'm Sharmin Prince.
And we are here to solve the problems of the world one episode at a time.
Be sure to smash that subscribe button, review, and download. And don't forget to invite a friend.
Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Transforming Lives podcast panel. And today we are a panel of two because that's what flexibility in life is all about. Sometimes we got it all, sometimes we got two, and that's okay. As usual, we are going to start our podcast with a grounding, and Sharmin is going to take over the grounding today.
Thank you, Cheryl. Just join me and close your eyes if you can. Place your feet flat on the floor so you can be connected and grounded. And I want you to join me in taking a deep breath in through your nose. And as you take that deep breath, just feel it going through your body. And now exhale through your mouth. And as you take this second breath, just let go of your to-do list, your laundry list of things that you have to do. Take a deep breath in with me and hold that breath. And now as you exhale, just let go of everything that can distract you for the next 30 minutes with us. And let's take a final deep breath in. And just feel the peace and the love and the gratitude of that breath that you're here with us today. And let go of anything and everything that doesn't serve you. And just open your eyes and join us. And thank you for joining us today as we talk about transition. I am excited. I don't know about you, Cheryl, but I'm excited. There was some trepidations with this topic because of my personal experiences with transitions.
Okay.
From childhood, but then I worked through those fears and trepidations, and I'm ready to share.
Good. So let's start with this then. What does transition mean to you, Sharmin?
For me, it's change. And change from one state of being, one place to a next. And sometimes venturing into the unknown. Mm-hmm. And it's fearful. I was considering if I'm going to share how transitions affected me as a child, and I never identified its effects until I was in my 50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking about this with, I went in for a massage, and we'll go back to different transitions, but it's funny you said that because I've had huge transitions in my life. And 3 years ago, I changed homes, I changed cities, I went from living alone to finding a partner to live with. I changed careers. My job from 25 years, I changed. And I won't go back to all of that, but I was thinking the other day, I was like, I'm really good with change. I'm really good with change. I just change. And now here's the other transition in my life that you know of this week is I am retiring 30 years in the same industry, and I'm retiring. Another transition. And I said to somebody the other day, I'm a little worried that I'm too good with change. I'm a little worried that maybe I'm not processing like I think I am. I'm just like, okay, cool, move on. Let's do something else. I'm so good with that. But I'm also, like I said, a little worried that maybe I'm not processing everything and having that whole beginning to end, cut the cord, move forward. It seems, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So tell me about your transition.
So, as a child, we moved often from place to place, but I think my first recollection of moving was around maybe age 5. And I remembered when we moved, I walked with my, I think my mom or someone took me to school. I was in kindergarten and I knew the route. So when I came out of school and I went to my stepdad's shop, he wasn't there. So I took it on my 5-year-old self to walk home. And I think the distance was maybe 2 miles.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I had to cross major roads. And I walked, but I forgot where to turn. But I knew it was between maybe this 5-block radius, and I kept walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And my mother sent my brother to look for me. And during one of those back and forth, he found me. And he was so afraid because he knew he couldn't return home. My mama, I didn't find her. And he was so angry.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if it's that cause of fear. I don't know. But I remember when we moved from that place, we moved maybe another 3 miles away. And we walked, right? So I thought, well, I didn't know until I said I am rehearsing when we moved the similarities. And for the first week when we moved, every day I'll have an accident.
Wow.
And my household made fun of me. My stepdad would take it to grab my book bag and put it at the back of him just as I did. But this happened every time we moved. I would say from age 6 to like age 13.
Wow.
Every time. Every time we moved that first week. And I was rehearsing when I had this major change 2017, leaving a position where I had supportive staff and in every department and going into a role that I'm the only person.
Wow.
And I didn't understand that the impact. I was just ready for a change. But I succeeded. But emotionally and mentally suppressed a lot.
Yeah.
And so when the change occurred 2 years later, I knew that mentally I couldn't handle it. And that's when I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to resign. And it's during that time, like around 2020, 2021, during the pandemic, I was able to process how I am affected by transitions and change. And in my adulthood, I wasn't having accidents, but I was having serious dissociation.
Wow.
And I'm happy that I am so self-aware and I understand my journey, that I was able to put all those pieces together and share with you that this is what happened every time we moved. And the adults in the house made fun of me and never put those pieces together that this is happening every time we move to a new location.
Oh, just when you needed support. And oh, that's so hard. Wow. And we're the opposite. So my parents were married for 60 years, same house, still in the same house. My mother's still alive and in the same house, never moved. They both had their jobs for 35 years before they retired. I've had two marriages, 15 different houses. And the only thing that's been pretty consistent for me is one job for 25 years and my last job for 3, but education for 30 years. But everything else, 15 different homes. And I didn't bat an eye. Pack the box, let's go. Let's go, pack another box, let's go. Come on, new job? Okay, let's see what happens. It's it just amazes me that my whole background is stability and sameness. And then, and then now I think as you're talking, that meant my kids moved a few times. We moved way less when they were much younger, but I do remember one move where my daughter really wanted, I didn't know, she was very quiet and didn't say anything until it was too late, but she wanted to say goodbye to her friends the last day. She wanted to spend some time, and we were just like in the car and away we went. And I didn't spend enough time thinking about the impact of that. It was, that it was our dream home. It was on a lake. It was just everything about it was beautiful. But that was in my eyes. That was in her dad's eyes, but it wasn't in her eyes. So there's, yeah, that's a real toughie. And now, now the whole, I even when I decided to retire, thinking this is another huge transition, I thought, I don't know, maybe I should be more upset. Maybe I should be more hesitant. And so there's a process to retirement where you can submit for your retirement, but you can always change your mind until you take your first pension check. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to submit and see how I feel, see how it sits with me. And man, I felt like I lost 100 pounds off my shoulders the second I hit submit. So, I don't know, should I be this easy with transition? Should it be? It just doesn't seem to phase me, which I just find so strange. I'm not upset about it. I'm just really confused about it.
Wow. When you mention your daughter, I remember that when we moved, I guess after we moved the second time or the third time, I don't know where I got the understanding that I shouldn't make friends where I live because I am going to move and I am going to leave them and I would not be able to visit. So I developed this way that I don't make friends where we go, wherever we live. I wouldn't have friends because somewhere in my subconscious, we're going to leave and I am going to have to leave my friends behind. Even now, in my adulthood, it's difficult for me to attach, to make friendship. When I make friendship, it's like one person, and I ensure that I nourish that relationship and that friendship that it can be last.
That's so interesting. And that you're reflecting on it now. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And hard. Like imagine as a kid, as anyone, any human being needs connection. We need to have connection. We learn that through COVID more than anything. We thrive on connection. We live on connection. And to think that you had to, you know, limit your connections for fear of losing them at that age. Wow. I think a lot of this talk is now reflecting, like, what do we, like, even though we can transition, what are we putting our kids through? But I'm thinking now your parents can transition, but what did they put you through? I can transition, but what did I do? You know, how intentional was I on noticing and hearing from my kids about what the impact of that would be? Yeah. And it's funny, I think too, when I know I've got a big change coming, when I know something has ended in my head, you know what I mean? A relationship or a job or a home, when I know it's in my head, it's done. I think I spend so much time grieving it before it's done, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get those red flags, you're in a relationship and you're like, this isn't feeling so good. Yeah. And you start to sever those connections on your own and process it obviously way faster than the person that's not expecting this to happen or not listening to the fact that this is starting to happen. And then I start thinking, I'm not running away, I'm running to. And I think that helps me, kind of process that. Okay, this is done, cord is cut, this is not serving me, I have to let it go. Do I grieve the loss? I've probably had more time to grieve that loss than anybody else because it's already started in me. And then when it's time to move forward, yeah, I'm running to something. I see something that there's that light, right? That makes it easy maybe for me to handle transition.
Maybe. And
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. For me, after spending 18 years at the job, and when the 2-year contract ended with the two veterans programs I was managing, and they said, well, they didn't get the funding to actually renew the programs. However, they transferred me into a veterans building. Knowing the organization, I knew that I would have still had to run the two programs and manage that facility. And that was a very difficult facility because the veterans knew their rights. They're always the politicians involved. And my head was not there. I wasn't there mentally. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And leaving that, severing that tie, despite I was conscious that this is what I'm doing, I did not realize how much of my identity was interlaced into that job until I left it. And it took a lot of mourning, a lot of grieving, a lot of letting go, a lot of finding more of me. And because I think for me, that was the only thing, the stability that I've had for a long time in my life. So it was meaningful. And so having to let go of that, it did a lot for me because it helped me to embrace more of me, understand that I preach that, who are you without your external stimuli, right?
Yes.
And connections. But here I was having to let go of the last external connection that I was grabbing onto. And it's like, you were clutching at this straw and now you have to let go of it. And what?
Yeah.
It was a journey, and I am happy that I did. and I understand how to handle transitions, how to handle change, how I deal with it emotionally, psychologically, and the physiological changes or impact transitions have on me.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's just like in this situation with my retirement, it's the same, like 30 years in the same business and 30 years with doing the same thing. Yep, I know what I'm doing. But there's a new path in town. Like there's something else coming. And I keep hearing this voice is like, you go first and the universe will come up. You go first. So this is, and every time I get nervous, or every time, you go to sign that pension, or every time I, even log in to do the podcast, this is all new. I just keep thinking, okay, this is me going first. This is me going first. And like anything, and we're doing this together, kind of like, who knows? Let's just give it a whirl. And I think what's driving both of us and everyone else that's on the panel is what we have to say might help somebody. And so I keep hearing that. I actually, look, I have this little Post-it note. I don't know if you can even, my Post-it note says, it's not for you, it's for them. And I keep it here because if I'm doing the upload of the podcast and I'm trying to do a Google Drive and find a folder, and I'm like, nope, I can't do this. I can't, I'm just going to be a supply teacher. I can't do this. And I think, but it's not for me. If I wanted to be perfect and know exactly what I'm doing, then Cheryl and Cheryl's ego comes into play. And if it's for somebody else, it's not my ego anymore. It's not getting in the way. So it can ride alongside me, but it's not running the show anymore. So I think that's a lot of it. And every time I was going through this, like hours this week, trying to upload, get things ready. And anyone who's just starting a podcast will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just kept thinking, okay, I would walk away and think, nope, I'm going to figure this out. God wraps a gift up in a problem. That's what he does. You got to just keep unwrapping the problem, and there's the gift. And just things like, you have to go first. You have to go first. Then the universe keeps up. So much like when we met, we got on a podcast face group. And if we didn't go first, if you didn't put out the call and I didn't respond, we wouldn't be sitting here having some fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This has been a good transition.
Yeah. It sure was.
Wow. So should we wrap this up into what would you say to somebody who's going to go through a big transition, or what would you say is really important, or what are you thinking?
Be present. Most importantly, because I think as humans, we have a way or a tendency to just go through things,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I have to, but go through it intentionally. Be present of your thoughts, be present of your feelings, be present of the decisions that you make during those times. And as you become present in those moments, you learn so much about yourself. You're able to identify strengths that you have never known you had, and you understand ways on how to overcome challenges. So my advice: be present, embrace the process, especially if you don't know what tomorrow holds. Embrace that process and you will be fine. And at the end of it, you can actually write a book, a guide, a how-to for those that are coming after you.
Wow, that's amazing. And I love that you said be present, because as we were talking through transitions, I'm thinking, and I just keep pushing forward, just pack another box, just sign an iPad, go, keep going. And you're right. If you need to stop and process every step of the way. I think that's so important. And I think that might be a bit of why I feel like, did I actually even process this transition? I'm just like in another side of the world and I don't know what happened. I think that's very good advice. And I think also I would say too, if it's not just you, consider the impact of the people who are relying on you. Remember exactly what I just said a little while ago, is that if you're thinking of moving, or you're thinking of leaving, or you're thinking of quitting, the process has already started with you. You've gone through the whole 7 steps of grief to release. But the people with you, they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important, even if it's somebody you're leaving or someone you're taking with you. I think it's really important to sit back and go, okay, here's where I am on the journey, but they might be 20 steps behind. So we need to be intentional with the people in our world who are coming with us and how it's going to affect them. And it doesn't mean we can't transition, but again, transition present with whoever's coming with you and allow them to catch up. Give them that time. Yeah. This has been really interesting how we're both on different opposite ends of transition
Mm-hmm.
from our childhood. That's been really, yeah, interesting.
Indeed.
Yes.
And I hope that we were able to inspire someone, empower someone, or help them to embrace their transition. Because when we lose a person, we mourn and grieve. But when we lose things, we don't do the same. And it's the same emotions that are involved, and the same process should be implemented.
Mhm. And remember to think about, are you running away? That might need some more talk and discussion and process. Or are you running towards something? And just identifying that might help your process as well. And if there's anything you're transitioning through and you want to connect with us, all of our contacts are in the show notes. We're happy to discuss what you want to discuss. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Transforming Lives podcast panel. And we are so grateful you're here and spent time with us. And we will talk to you again soon. Bye, Sharmin.
Bye, Cheryl.
And that's a wrap for the Transforming Lives podcast panel, where we strive to embrace, inspire, and empower our community.
Be sure to subscribe and download. Also, don't forget to leave a review and check the show notes for resources and contacts for all of us. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you, Sharmin.
Thank you, Cheryl.